Well, a very good afternoon, people of Wigan. It's been local elections week this week. I wonder who you've been casting your vote for. Did anybody vote for the Conservative Party? Anybody vote for Labour? I don't think so. Quite a Labour hotbed round here normally, isn't it? But I don't think many people voted for Labour, judging by how many people did not get into those council seats. I wonder whether you voted for the Reform Party. Anybody vote for Reform, Nigel Farage and all that? I think they won 22 out of the 23 seats here in Wigan, so they did very well. So I'm imagining quite a few of you voted for Reform. Maybe some of you wish that you were down in the east of England and you could have had a Restore Britain candidate to vote for. He's very picky, carefully choosing his candidates rather than just rushing ahead and picking any old person. So they've not got candidates for every constituency at the moment, but they will have at some point. So maybe that might be an option for you. Restore Britain rather than Reform UK. Well, can I suggest an alternative today? Because I'm not here in the business of trying to promote any political persuasion. I'm actually here wanting a different kind of party, really. I want a different thing to happen to Britain. I'm not after reform. I'm not after restoring Britain. I'm in the business of revival. So if there's a party called Revival, I'd be voting for them because that's what this country needs. Okay? It doesn't just need restoring to what it used to be like, even though the old days seem to be a lot better than today's days, that's for sure. And it doesn't need reforming the way things are and just making things that little bit better. What we need is we need a complete overhaul. We need revival. What's up, madam? What's up? Who is? I am not advocating reform. I'm not advocating restore. If you come here, madam, you'll find out exactly what I'm campaigning for. I'm campaigning for revival. I'm not talking about a change in the government. I'm talking about a change in the heart. A heart. It's a heart change that we need. If every single person in this country had a change of heart, then this country would look a lot better than it does today. You see, change comes from within, not without. It's not changing the government that's going to effectively see a great change. It's changing our hearts. It's revival. It's revival what we need in our land. Now, we've had revivals before in the past, and they've looked like people repenting of the wrong things that they've done, turning to God, saying sorry, and then being forgiven. And when people do that en masse throughout the land, so the churches are now full, and people are praying everywhere, suddenly you see a change in the land. That's what we need. We need revival, not reform, not restore. We need revival. That's what we need in our land. And it comes from within. It's a change of heart. You know, so often we change our outward appearance, don't we? We want to change the circumstances. But if you want to change your circumstances, the best thing to do is to change yourself. And what does that look like? Well, it looks like you coming to God and saying, I've messed up, God. Please forgive me. Help me to follow you. And you know, when you come to Him and you ask for forgiveness, He absolutely will forgive you. Now, how can God forgive you for all the wrong things you've done wrong? Well, He's paid for all the things you've done wrong. That's why He can forgive you. It's already paid for. The Lord Jesus came down to this earth. He died on a cross, and He took your punishment, and He took my punishment, and that's how we can be forgiven. And it's fantastic news. What do you think about that, guys? You're not so sure, are you? Why not? Yeah. So I'm not advocating, political system here. I'm advocating a change of heart, not restore, not reform, revival. Hey, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to jump on the back of the fact that we've just had a local election. People are thinking about politics at the moment, and they're thinking about reform, they're thinking about Labour, Conservatives, restore Britain. But I'm after reviving Britain. I want there to be revival, a real heart change from every single person, where people turn to God. See, that's what revival is. You can read about loads of revivals in the land and loads of revivals in the Bible. And what happened was the people realised how bad they'd been and they turned to God.
You didn't answer the question, what is policy on immigrants for revival?
For who? Revival does not exist as a political party. What I am actually advocating is that we have a revival. Sorry, what's the question? Do I? Yeah, I do, yeah. Hey? Why? Because the majority of immigrants have come here, all right, and they've come here. See, there's this man, an immigrant. Why, is that what you're pointing at him? Yeah, well, there you go. Well, he wants to be here, don't you? You want to stay here? You only got, where have you come from? Where have you come from? Narnia, right, well, you can't get back there, can you? Because you've got to go through a wardrobe, a magic wardrobe to get to Narnia. But yeah, no, I'm happy for immigrants to come here. I didn't say, did I say I want that? I say I want revival. I just said I'm not campaigning for reform or restore. I said, do you want them here? I think you said, do I want them here? No, I'm quite happy for them to be here, yeah? I do want immigrants here. Because there's a few immigrants at my church. They've come from Iran. They were getting persecuted over there. They come to our country and they can have the freedom to worship God. And they come to our church and they worship Jesus Christ. Now, they're not allowed to do that in Iran. So absolutely, if people want to come here and worship freely, let them come.
What if they don't worship Jesus, what if they worship Allah?
If they worship Allah and they're quite happy to worship Allah and quite happy for me to worship Jesus, then they can come. But the problem is when they try to take over the system and they say, do you know what? We don't want you to worship Jesus. We want you to only worship Allah. And that happens in some countries, like in Iran.
The thing is, if Iran is a Muslim country like here is a Christian country, would that not be the same vice versa then?
So you think it's all right in Iran for people to turn around and say...
Would you say that it's okay for a British person to go to Iran and say, oh hey, you still worship Jesus?
I'm saying that they should be allowed to worship in a place of worship. They should be allowed to worship in homes. But what's actually happening is, you won't find any churches in Iran. You find lots of churches in Britain. We allow them to worship, but they will not allow us to worship over there. So there needs to be freedom of worship. There needs to be freedom of choice, and they don't have the freedom of choice.
But that's nothing to do with the people there. That's just the way that country is run.
But it's wrong.
They're not allowed to leave.
To the government.
Right, welcome to France. It's a radical one different.
Wouldn't that apply to everything?
No, it's not, because if you were to leave a Muslim country, you can't. You'll be killed, you'll be shot, you'll get harried.
Yeah, that's how it works. Do you know there's a lady at the moment, right? She's a beautiful young lady.
Once you're in a Christian country, or any country, you should respect and abide by them. Not try and get like 14, 12-year-olds to come over. You need to do a little bit more research on this. Anyways, you're doing a good job.
Yeah, thank you, mate. No worries. Cheers, buddy. But yeah, no, we need a freedom to worship. Do you know a lot of the Muslims in this country are voting Green? They're voting for the Green Party. Did you know that? That's why the Green Party is suddenly shooting up. It's not because people are concerned about the planet. People are voting Green because the Muslims are voting Green Party because they know that they'll be protected by the Green Party, because the Green Party are all about human rights, but not being totally politically correct and not saying anything negative about any small people groups. So because they represent a small people group, they are like, oh, we'll be protected if we vote Green, because they're the most left-wing party we can possibly vote for. We used to vote for Labour. That's why Keir Starmer brushed all that Rochdale grooming cans under the carpet, even though it landed at his feet and he could have done something about it, because he didn't want to lose the Muslim vote. But now the Muslims are all voting for the Green Party. Now the Green Party, their morality does not align with Islamist views whatsoever, because they are all against homosexuality. They're against gays and lesbians. They're completely against all of that. But you see, they know that they'll be protected, right, by the Green Party, because they're also one of these minorities that they're seeking protection from. You see, that's what they... And if you can chat to any man, and they know that this is their strategy. That's their strategy, to voting for the Green Party. When really, they should vote for the Conservative Party, because their traditional morals, the traditional morals of the Conservative Party, more align, right-wing politics, more aligns with Islam than left-wing politics. But they all vote left-wing because they know that because they know how stupid left-wing people are. They will just say, do you know what? We've got to live and let live and all the rest of it. And while we're living and let living, we're not allowed to talk about things that are going wrong in our country that should be talked about, because it's happening from a minority. We protect the minority, and if you say anything negative against Islam, it's classed as Islamophobia. So what I would love to say today, but I'll probably get in trouble for it, I would love to highlight a case that's happening in Iran right now of a lady who protested, beautiful lady, she protested on the streets of Iran against the regime, and it was classed as protesting against Allah. To protest against the regime was protesting against Allah. Hang on, just let me finish. So therefore, she got thrown in prison, and they want to execute her. Now, she's been there for quite some time. They can't execute her because guess why? She's a virgin. She's a virgin. And they know that if they execute her, she'll go straight to paradise. They don't want to do that. So do you know what they're actually doing right now? And you can find this all over TikTok. There's people campaigning for her. What they're actually doing is they are going to do a temporary marriage that lasts 1 week. They're going to rape her, and then they're going to kill her so she doesn't go to paradise. How awful is that? And that's going on in Iran right now. Yeah.
I have a question for you. Is your problem Islamists? Is it immigrants, or is it the leaders of those countries?
My problem is that people have no concern for God whatsoever. That's my concern. And I want to be a revival where people are turning to God en masse. That's what I want.
What if someone just doesn't believe in God? Because, there are many religions. Why, from a Muslim's point of view, why would someone believe in God? Look at it from your point of view, why would someone believe in Allah? It's just how you were raised. There's no actual definite proof of any of those existence.
You could say it's how you're raised, but the problem, the good thing is, and this is why I love some of these Muslims coming over here, is because they get exposed to teaching they never would have found in Iran. And we've got loads of Iranians at our church who've become Christians because they've realised they've been exposed to the true story of Jesus. And when you look at the true story of Jesus, you find it's all true. And Jesus is in the Quran, There's more about Jesus in the Quran than there is about Muhammad. Yeah, they call him the Prophet Isa, but they admit that he was born of a virgin. They admit that he's not dead and he's gone straight to heaven. And you're like, does that not make him like a greater prophet than Muhammad? Of course it does. Of course it does. And then they realise then, don't they? So what I'm trying to say is, there is a creator, there is a God. The question is it the Muslim God or is it the Judeo-Christian God? That's the answer.
How do you know there's a creator at all?
Because how did we get here?
Big Bang.
Big Bang? How does the bangs destroy things? The bangs don't create things.
The Big Bang!
Yeah.
The Big Bang is spread matter throughout the universe. The universe is still expanding.
Yeah.
Yeah. It didn't destroy things.
Yeah.
It spread things out.
Spread things out?
It's like, how to explain this? Like a bunch of matter into a ball and then pressure, boom.
Yeah, so then you've got rocks flying around, rocks coming together, spinning around, creating a beautiful sphere like the Earth now, yeah? But then you're going to need water on the Earth, aren't you? Yeah? Okay, where's the water come from?
Over time, there's water vapor in the air, and as the heat died down, the water vapor became...
No, comets landed on the Earth full of ice, and that melted. That's where you get all the water from. Now, can you believe that we have enough comets landing on planet Earth to create the whole thing being 70% water, and some of the oceans so deep that they can fit 2 Everests in? I mean, come on. It's nuts.
There's enough comets to collect together to form the Earth itself anyway, so therefore there should be enough to form water.
But you'd need them all to hit the Earth all at once. Bang, 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 bang.
Yeah, so this massive gravity has all come down. So for example, Jupiter, it constantly swings comets at us.
Yeah. It's a good protector, Jupiter.
Yeah,
of them
also
getting to us,
it's swing them out, but it swung a lot of them at us.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of water content in rocks and stuff.
All right, so you can believe there's enough comets landing on the Earth. Fair enough. Right, where does life evolve from?
That's a good question, to be honest.
Because in all life there is huge amounts of DNA, huge amounts of information. Where did the DNA come from? You see, I love Charles Darwin, but I just think that if you've got Charles Darwin, who correctly discovered natural selection, survival of the fittest, biological diversity, and the ability of an animal to adapt to its environment, all of those things are true. No problem. But then to go from that and say, actually, that means that we can all have just evolved, it's like nonsense, because all we get is like things evolving within a kind of animal. Yeah.
Okay. So you believe there's a higher being that created like everything?
Yeah.
So do you believe it's a general higher being, or it's specifically God from the Bible?
I believe it's the God from the Bible.
Why do you believe it's God from? What proof is that outside of the Bible?
Because he came down to earth in the form of
there.
Jesus. I was not there, but some people were there.
Okay. So
And he rose from the dead.
say 2,000 years time, someone reads Spider-Man from this time, would they not say, oh, well, Spider-Man must have been a real thing because people wrote about it, there were multiple perspectives of it? Like,
maybe if like tons and tons of years had gone past and a myth had developed, yeah. But the thing is this, right? There's a guy called Lee Strobel, right? Lee Strobel was an atheist, and his wife came home one day and she said, I've become a Christian. This has happened to him, become a Christian. He's like, oh, the worst thing in the world for him. He thought, I know, I can just sort this out straight away. I'll just disprove the resurrection. And he's a journalist, all right, and he's been trained in law. So he with all his legal training, all his journalistic training, he got all the sources together to try and disprove the resurrection to his wife. And you know what he found out? He found out 4 E's. He found out that the report, the first thing, there was an empty tomb. Everyone admitted there was an empty tomb. The Jews admitted there was an empty tomb, and they didn't want to admit there was an empty tomb because it raises questions. The Romans admitted there was an empty tomb, you know, and the disciples are going around saying, yeah, there's an empty tomb because he's risen. Now, the other is there was really early accounts. The first creeds of what had happened were created just a couple of months after it had happened. You know, now that doesn't happen. No time for a myth to develop straight away, instantly. And then you've got the fact that the evidence of the actual execution. 5 other extra biblical resources testify that there was a man called Jesus Christ who was executed on a Roman cross, right? And there's 6 extra biblical resources that say that all his disciples said that they'd seen him risen from the dead. So they're going around saying, to got these resources saying they said they saw him risen from the dead. So those are the facts. Now the thing is, did they really see him risen from the dead or not? And the answer is, why did they go to the deaths if they did? Now when Lee Strobel looked at all this evidence, you know what he realised? He realised it was all true. And he became a Christian, just like his wife. And he wrote a book called The Case for Christ. Why don't you have a read of it? Really good book. Yeah, The Case for Christ, Lee Strobel. New York Times bestseller. So there we go. Any more questions?
You go back to one of the reasons why evolution couldn't be true because the sheer amount of DNA.
Yeah.
But this does happen over millions of years.
Yeah, that's the millions of years is the hero of the plot. It's like if you just sweep everything up under millions and billions of years, a carpet of millions and billions of years, and maybe we could just imagine all of this happening. But what if I could say to you that the Earth is not millions and billions of years old? Actually, it's quite young. Now, if you can prove the Earth is young, then you can definitely get rid of all this.
Is that young Earth creationism?
Yeah, some form of creationism. Well, ultimately, creationism is just believing there's a God who created it all. You don't have to believe in millions and billions of years, but millions and billions of years. But when you actually look at the evidence of like helium content of the atmosphere, the erosion rates of the continents, the salt content of the oceans, if you look at all these things, they actually all point to a much younger Earth than what we're being told.
I wish that was it because he's really good at that.
What was it?
So the no, I don't know enough to precise.
Yeah. So it's worth looking at it. Look, young Earth evidence. Type it in. You'll find like 20 things that clearly point to a young Earth. And the only issue that we've got is how can you see starlight from like billions of light years away, reaching us, light speed. But the James Webb Space Telescope's thrown up a huge problem with that because when we started looking through this space telescope at all these kind of galaxies out there at the edge of the universe, we were expecting to see stars being formed because you're looking back into time looking at the edge of the universe, aren't you? But we're actually seeing perfectly formed spiral galaxies just like our own right here. And it's like, how can that be? It's almost as if, this is what they said, the scientists, it's almost as if they were all created at the same time. Now, that's actually what the Bible teaches anyway. You take it literally.
As the universe expands and stretches, the wavelengths get stretched.
Yeah.
The time works relative to it.
That's what they're coming up with now. They're trying to come up with another theory that can explain that, rather than just look at the basics and the obviousness of it. And you get people doing that all the time. They always say, right, we've got a problem here. We need to come up with a theory that can explain this, rather than just accepting what it actually looks like. It looks like they're all made at the same time. So it's what you do. Are you going to trust the scientists? Are you going to trust like what the Bible says? And I trust the Bible because the Bible predicted things, and those things have all come true. It predicted Jesus dying on the cross hundreds of years before it actually happened, and in great detail. It's like from him being pierced to the soldiers gambling over his claws, to be numbered with the transgressors, with thieves on either side of him, buried in a rich man's tomb. All of these incredible detailed prophecies about him all came true. How do you explain that? Unless somebody had foreknowledge. That person who had foreknowledge was God himself, who inspired the writers to write what they wrote, prophesy what they wrote. So that's why I believe the God of the Bible, because of the proof of prophecy. So there we go. But yeah, any more questions? Yeah. So much to think about, innit?
Yeah.
My friend Adam's probably got. Adam, have you got that atheist book there? Great, give it one of these.
Huh? You happy to one if you want one. I don't know if you want any of these. You're happy to one if you want one too.
I've got two actually. There you go. You can have one each. How about that? Oh, you're not. Oh, there we go. We've got a believer here.
Hey.
I love it. This is great stuff.
It's great to meet you, by the way.
Yeah, same. That's been really interesting. Thank you.
Good. So there we go. But yeah, any more? I'll switch this off now to have a little break. Yeah, have you got any more questions at all or anything?